Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pregame coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
And good morning. Welcome to 365 Sports and KWTX CBS. And we take you up until 10:30 and lead you up till Baylor and Iowa State in Ames. And we'll hear from Chris Williams in Ames, Iowa at some point today. Jack McKenzie and Garrett Ross behind the scenes. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. And, you know, we discuss, I use that word evidence for the longest time. We couldn't wait till we see scores and who is what. We've seen some teams that are a lot better than we thought, some teams that are probably not quite as good as we thought, and there's some teams about what we thought. And today, I think both Iowa State and Baylor will find out quite a bit about them, maybe similar to Brigham Young with Baylor. Iowa State, of course, had that low-scoring win against Iowa.
Yeah, I think this is a very intriguing matchup for Baylor. This is a very key game for both teams. For Baylor, this could determine, you know, are you a 7-5 and 8-4 team, or are you a team that's contending for the Big 12 title? My biggest qualms about this team are their, woes on the road over the last couple of years. And Ames is a tough place to play. It's as tough to play as Provo, a place that they just went to 2 weeks ago and lost. So they've got to shake those off, because this is just the second of several really tough road contests that the Bears have.
Yeah, playing on the road's not easy, and playing at Iowa State's not easy. But I'd be worried if this game was in Waco. I think that Baylor's shown some things that are, good. I think they've shown some things that are pretty average, and I think they've not shown some things that would be really good to see. And if they don't show those today, then I think that they might be in a little bit of trouble, because they're going to have to be able to get stops and score. We've been able to see them do kind of either or mostly get stops, sometimes be able to score. Last week got to score a bunch, but they beat up on an inferior team. That's what you kind of expected them to do. And today, not an inferior team by any stretch. So they're going to have to carry over some of that excitement from last week over to Ames, Iowa today, hopefully to have a chance. And it should be a good game. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we all have predictions, and we'll have that later in the show. And everybody on staff, even a lot of those who sometimes we try to mention because of who they are and what they do for us behind the scenes. But there was this reaction on Sikkim365.com, and the message board is like, my God, you guys are making Iowa State look like Georgia. No, we're not saying that. We're just saying that the game's in Ames. To me, that's about a field goal difference. So Vegas feels the same way. Baylor early on in the week started out as a 1 or 1.5 point favorite, and then Iowa State, it flipped over to them. And home field advantage is worth usually about 3 points no matter who you are. I just feel like what we haven't seen is an offense that has just done their thing. And maybe we overestimated what we might see, but I think that's also why when they made the decision for Blake Shapen to be the quarterback, I think most of us, and I think Baylor's staff did as well, expected, no matter the youth of their skill positions, for a team that was going to be more explosive on offense.
Yeah, I think so. I think that maybe – we thought that there'd be more wide receivers that we just hadn't seen, but, that they don't have a consistent starter at running back yet, because Tay McWilliams has been injured, and they haven't released Squirrel Williams, and Richard Reese had a really nice game against Texas State last week, but let's see him do that against an Iowa State defense that's really, really good against the run. So there's all these things that you wonder about, and I think the three biggest questions were the skill position players, the new linebackers taking over, and the secondary. And the linebackers have been all right. The secondary looks very green at times, and the skill position players aren't really taking the top off the defense unless their name's Monterey Baldwin, and he was absent for the last game and a half. So if he comes back and plays against Iowa State, that's going to be huge for the offense.
And I can count easily on one hand the amount of times he's taken the top off the defense. So that simply has barely, if at all, happened. And I would say to that Georgia comment, I saw the scores that were put in. I think everybody who picked Iowa State had them by a field goal. Let's make one thing clear. Baylor's playing Georgia to have them by a lot more than a field goal, especially in Athens. So I don't think we're being disrespectful at all by thinking that Iowa State at home, being a pretty good team, could win by a field goal over Baylor. I think it's just I don't know, I homerish to think that would be some type of a weird pick to make. I think the idea of, let's just pick Baylor on the road based on what we've seen and all that. I mean, I've watched Iowa State too. I think Baylor can win this game. But as far as you asking me what I'm going to pick, I'm going to pick the home team right now, because name me a big road game that Dave Aranda's team has gone and won so far. And that's not at AT&T Stadium in Arlington or in New Orleans, Louisiana. A real road game. Name me one.
No, there hasn't been one.
Yeah.
And so that's the and I think, again, most of everyone understands we're doing what we do, and if we're wrong, that's fine. And if we're right, no one will probably remember that part. Here's another thing. Last year, Baylor won the Big 12, won 12 games, their best year ever in the history of the program. Went to the Sugar Bowl, beat Ole Miss. They beat Iowa State in Waco 31-29 and had to knock down a 2-point conversion to win the game. Remember that? Treston Ebner had a long kickoff return. The yardage was way out of whack because Iowa State, that's a 80 or a 100-yard return by Treston Ebner. These two teams, when they play tight games. That's what they do. That's what they do. All right, let's go to Ames, Iowa. Chris Williams, KWTX, joins us. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. And Chris, thanks for your time. It ought to be, I guess, kind of a nice, crisp, beautiful Saturday morning.
Yeah, definitely different than the 101 degrees it was in Waco on Friday when I left. But it's chilly, but the sun's coming out. I think it's going to be pretty much perfect come game time.
Chris, what's the tailgate scene like there this morning in Ames?
It is unbelievable. So we rolled up to the stadium around 7:15, and about a mile down the road, there were already students filled up an empty field. And then I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this.
Oh, yeah.
If you see colorful, there's just tents all over. So this is the parking lot of the stadium. This is just one section. So as I keep turning, and you're going to see, I don't know how well you'll see across the river.
Oh, yeah.
There's another set over there. And then as we keep going, these ones you really won't be able to see. You'll see Royden over there. They just put that in, I'm told. It's an RV lot where you can come, hook up your RV, put on the TV, watch games. So that's a whole nother section of tailgating. So this is some of the most tailgating I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, we know that Iowa State fans are going to have their full throttle of beverages prior to the game because we know one that's an incredible Iowa State fan, Adam Batchelor. And I was fortunate one time to go to Ames twice, one for men's basketball when it was like 12 degrees. But I was up there, Chris, as well for a home game for Iowa State against Baylor. Baylor won the game back when Briles was the head coach. And, I mean, they will go full throttle. They will be sold out, most likely, at that game. What do you think, as far as we've discussed the road game issues, and a lot of people struggle on the road, but the Brigham Young game was a bang-bang game. They could have won the game, almost did. But your thoughts about Baylor just trying to get off to a nice start and set the tone on the road?
Well, I almost feel like it's a mental thing at this point, especially if you're a guy like Blake Shapen. Obviously, there was a lot of doubt after the BYU game. He and that offense looked rattled. So I think early on, you want to come out, you want to be confident. And then Shapen plays his best games when he can hit downfield early on. Now, I know they don't quite have the Tyquan Thornton downfield threat, but if you remember his very first start, Texas Tech, he went down the sideline to Treston Ebner. And after that, he just looked so comfortable. So this Iowa State defense is nasty, especially in the trenches, especially against the run. If you let Shapen throw the ball deep, let him get comfortable, let him feel like he can play his game, then this offense can maybe click. The one thing I'm worried about is if they get into this macho man. I almost felt like BYU on both sides turned into, well, we want to prove that we can run the ball. Even if it's only going for 3, 2, 4 yards, we want to prove it. We want to prove it. At some point, you got to say, hey, guess what? You got to move your safeties back or we're going to throw the ball downfield.
Chris, this Iowa State defense is going to drop 8 a lot of the time, so might be some underneath opportunities for this Baylor offense.
Yeah, well, having Monterey Baldwin back is going to be huge for that. If they can slip him inside, maybe use him as more of a slot threat. I agree with that. I just, when you run the zone, that can definitely be a run defense first. A lot of people think of the zone as a pass defense, but it allows you to look at your keys and be able to be in the gaps. These Iowa State linebackers, I think they have 2 interceptions on the year already. They can play in the passing game, but they are aggressive. So I agree, some underneath, but I still think the play action, I still think those guys are gap assignment football. They want to stop the run. They got run over a little bit last year with Abram Smith, so they want to be able to fill those gaps. So I still think downfield is going to be needed early on to be able to establish this offense and run the offense that we know Grimes can run, but doesn't always run.
I'm glad you brought that up about Brigham Young, and I agree with you, and I never thought of it that way or said it that way. It was a physical slugfest, kind of, you hear old-fashioned. I mean, we still see those games today because we saw one a couple of weeks ago in Provo. But, yeah, it was almost as if we're going to prove we're more physical. Brigham Young had heard that they weren't physical enough for a year. Baylor, that's what they do. And perhaps they just got into, instead of a chess match of what was right that time, what play, what down and distance, they said, we're just going to see who can keep standing after we punch each other in the face all round.
Yeah, definitely. And BYU fans were upset about it too. You saw some of their best drives were the drive right before the half when they aired it out, and the drive at the end of the game when they decided to throw the ball in 2 minutes and got into field goal range. Now, Baylor's final drive of the game, they chose to run the ball just about every play and ended up giving it back to BYU. So I agree. It gets a little bit into that, and you get away from the aggression. It's almost like we're going to win and we're going to do it my way instead of we're going to win by setting up the offense so we can do it my way.
Chris Williams is in Ames at Jack Trice Stadium, just outside. He saw the tailgating. We'll hear from Chris again later in our pregame show. Chris, thank you very much. Royden also was there as he, of course, was scanning the various tailgating. And, I mean, they can tailgate. Everyone can. Every stadium you hear about maybe one atmosphere or one tailgate. Food is food, and good food. People who tailgate usually cook pretty good food. And I know there'll be brats and there'll be beer and there'll be all sorts of goodies. Ames, Iowa, today, Baylor, and Iowa State. What are your thoughts, maybe looking back at what Chris said about Brigham Young, that, my God, this is what we do, and this is how we're going to win the game, and maybe got into the who's going to be like a UCF fight, a UFC fight, rather than trying to maybe come up with an extra play or two?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that was, though, that BYU was just beating them physically, so I don't know if it mattered pass blocking or run blocking. But, yeah, maybe they didn't take the chances that they could or try to push it as much as they could. I think part of that is I don't know how much they trust some of those receivers to do those things, or if those guys were able to get open. So if they maybe even tried a time or two and it wound up in, just kind of a mundane play, those guys aren't winning on the routes, and they weren't winning against BYU.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. I think that that was the strategy that backfired, considering you lost the game. Like if you were like, no, we're just going to do this and this is how it's going to be, well, you lost the game, right? So I don't know if that was the best strategy, unless I'm taking that in the wrong way. But I think that there's definitely been an intentionality when it comes to them running the football. Last week, they clearly made it a point to run the football with Richard Reese and to get that going and to keep chipping away at that. They tried to, and in many cases did match the physicality of BYU. I think BYU was so into the physical part of that game and just having to feel like they have to be the more physical team that was just such an emphasis. But I don't think Baylor was lacking physicality in that game.
No.
I just think that, BYU came with a little bit of extra, and I think that Baylor is a team that, they're adamant about running the football, and today they're going to, even if they get stopped a bunch of times, they're going to try to run the football. But unlike against BYU, if you can't after a point, whether you trust your receivers or not, you're going to have to go to them if you want to win the game. Because, again, you tried it against BYU, and it didn't work in the end. So.
No, it did not. Scotty B, by the way, let's go. Work Baylor Bears. Also, don't be surprised if Ben Sims plays. From Baham Bear, Sikkim Bears. From Robert Duncan. Good morning, gentlemen. From D-Wiz. Game Day, BYU and Utah Tech, a $2 super chat. May I be on your show sometimes? And then Jack Huffman, why in the heck am I here? I swear you all are turning me into a Baylor fan. Also from the YouTube, Patrick, Sikkim Bears, and others go on on. And Jack Huffman, thank you for the comments of what we do on this show. Baylor lacked proper execution in the BYU game, according to Patrick Boren. When we come back, the keys to the game. A little bit later on, a more roundtable discussion. We'll look at the Big 12 and top 25 schedule. And former Iowa State lineman and now sideline reporter Ryan Harklaw, he'll join us about the Cyclones, Seth Russell on Baylor, and Blake Blackmar's weekly tailgate recipe, and it is amazing. Pizza today. This is 365 Sports and KWTX Game Day Live.
Game Day Live on News 10 is sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Advanced Pain Care, and Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
I had bad back pain for more than 15 years and had multiple surgeries that didn't work. Then when I got the spinal cord stimulator, I felt like a new man. Thanks to the people at Advanced Pain Care, I can finally enjoy quality time with my family.
This reversible procedure works by
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to help other people be able to smile and be healthy and improve their quality of life.
When I came in, I had no teeth from here back because the bridge came off.
We were able to use dental implants, commonly referred to as a smile in a day, and literally take out the bad teeth and put in the new permanent teeth all in one day.
It looks natural to me. I don't feel guarded now. I'm enjoying my teeth.
Game Day Live on 365 Sports and KWTX. We're in our beautiful studios, 101 Elm off of MLK. And Jack McKenzie, Garrett Ross, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak. And Travis Roeder is in studio, one of our college football analysts, and he joins us on the weekly segment of our Tailgate Show and Game Day Live with the keys for today's game. Travis?
Thanks for having me, guys. Pretty exciting day.
Yeah, it is. And now you have said you think that when we watch Baylor offensively today against Iowa State, it will be something that we really haven't seen much in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be as jarring as when Baylor came out there in the Big 12 title game. If we remember in the Big 12 title game last year, Baylor came out, they played spread ball. They got shapen in a bunch of kind of quick passing looks. I think that when this game opens against Iowa State this week, it's going to be as jarring as that, because Iowa State is a team that if they don't want to let you run the ball, you're not going to be able to run the ball on them. I know Baylor, RVO, all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, running the ball is a numbers game, and they're going to have to be able to get those numbers in their favor. Baylor's going to have to come out and throw the ball. So I think that's going to be something. My first key of the game really is Baylor's got to be able to come out and establish at least enough of a base down passing game, and by that I mean like a 1st and 10, 2nd and 6. You got to be able to just get the ball out for 7 yards, or else Iowa State's going to pin their ears back and really get after them.
They will give you a little bit of space, a lot of times dropping back, though. But you have to still make those plays.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State's defense, it's an oversimplification, but for the fan at home, what they essentially want you to do is they say, if you can execute 10 plays in a row, simple plays, you're going to be able to get down in the red zone. But most college offenses can't execute 10 plays in a row without a false start, a holding penalty, a dropped pass, an O lineman blowing a pass protection assignment. So for Baylor today, it's all going to be about if you can just consistently do your thing every down without shooting yourself in the foot, they're going to be able to move the ball downfield.
Travis Roeder with us, the keys to the game, Baylor at Iowa State in Ames.
All right, number 2.
Yes, sir. I think flipping to the other side of the ball, Xavier Hutchinson, I think, is quite easily the best wide receiver in the Big 12. He's a guy that if he goes for 11 catches for 140 yards this game, Baylor can still win the game. But I think really it's more about limiting him as opposed to totally stopping him. He's a guy that he's going to get his. They're going to target him. He's going to make 2 to 3 catches this game, Baylor fans, that you're just going to want to tear your hair out because you're saying, how on earth did this guy make this grab? But, Baylor's had receivers that way in the past where you just say, yep, we got him. Iowa State's got one of those guys this game. So it's more about making him earn those tough catches as opposed to saying, we're going to make sure this guy doesn't get a single grab this entire game.
So he's going to make plays. You're not going to shut down an Xavier Hutchinson. He's going to make his plays. Just know you just don't want to give up the big 50-yarder.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, and if he makes a 50-yarder, it better be a one-handed catch over his shoulder where the defensive back is in perfect position. And that really kind of transitions into my final key of the game, which is they've got to muddy things up. They've got to confuse Hunter Deckers, who's Iowa State's quarterback. Don't make it simple, hey, drop back. Half a second later, he's throwing the ball to an obvious read out in the flats, and they get an 8-yard gain, right? You've got to make it to where the first place he looks, he shuffles his feet, has to come back and look somewhere else, and get him moving.
Did it seem to me, or again, you break down the X's and O's, there were pockets against Baylor's defense, even with Texas State. Was that something they were giving up, and they wanted to make Texas State drive as well, or is that something that might be available?
Well, I mean, I think that's the most immediate thing I'm going to be watching in this game. Texas State, all they did was they lined their best receiver up in the slot, and they said, we're either going to get him matched up against a linebacker or a safety. And Baylor blew a lot of those coverage insofar as the linebackers kind of looked lost in space, or one-on-one versus a safety. That was a great matchup for them. So I think early in this game, you've got to watch, how is Baylor handling Xavier Hutchinson when they play him in the slot, trying to get him in that short middle of the field. I think, because that's the thing. If they just dink and dunk the ball down to the field with him, Iowa State's going to score nearly every possession. So I think defensively, Ron Roberts probably has something up his sleeve that he didn't use against Texas State that he'll be using this week.
Do you think that having Dylan Doyle for the whole game will make a big difference, as where last week it did look like without him they were a little bit lost in the middle?
Yes, I absolutely. Doyle, inside linebacker, that they call that the quarterback of the defense. It's not just a coaching speak thing that doesn't mean anything. What it actually means is pre-snap, when the defense is looking at the offensive formation, that inside linebacker, that leader middle linebacker that Dylan Doyle is, he's telling guys, hey, move over a few yards because they're coming to that spot. And so I think that is a big aspect in this game of he's not going to let them, again, make Iowa State earn it. Don't let them just drop back and throw to a vacated spot in the middle of the field that you can take away if you're lined up correctly before the snap.
Travis Roeder, Sikkim365.com, 365 Sports football analyst with us on our Tailgate show on Game Day Live.
Travis, how big was it to see Richard Reese last week and what he was able to do running the football?
I mean, it was awesome. I think what we saw against BYU is that Squirrel looks pretty comfortable. Mentally, he looks pretty geared up. I know he had the fumbling issues in this past game, but I think they had to find another running back who could at least, if you take Squirrel out of the game, you feel like he's at least pretty near their level. And Reese was a guy they recruited for this system. He's got the vision. He's got the acceleration. He's got the burst. And for a true freshman, despite him being small, I mean, he's compact. He's not a load, but, he doesn't look like a guy who's going to break in half when he gets handed the ball. So I think it's big for them to be able to say in this game, look, we've got two guys we feel really comfortable with, because you're not going to want to give one guy 30 carries against Iowa State. They got to get multiple guys.
Why did Squirrel have, even though the yardage really wasn't much, it appeared 2 years ago with a terrible offense that he had success against Iowa State? Why was that?
Well, Squirrel's a guy who is elite at kind of when he's inside that trash of defenders. Yeah. There's 10 guys within a 20, a little small radius. He's a guy that's elite at doing all the little small movements to make guys miss. And the way Iowa State wants to play defensively is they want to use as few guys as possible in the box. They want to stop the run with as few guys as possible. And so when you do that, that's fewer guys that Squirrel has to miss inside that box. And so I think that's part of why it is he's able to see, okay, I really just got to attack this one defender and make him miss.
Okay, all right, the keys to the game from Travis Roeder. Every time we have Game Day Live here, you appreciate it in studio or wherever we might get you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Travis Roeder with us, Game Day Live. Is there yet another one, Craig?
Yeah, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Go see the people you can count on. Proud alumni, providers of vehicles to Baylor coaches and staff for many years. Go see them Highway 6, the Imperial Exit, or richardcarr.com.
When we come back, we look at Baylor at Ames, where they have played Iowa State, the overall series. Later on, Blake Blackmar and his Tailgate recipe and cooking segment, and also Ryan Harklaw, a former Iowa State football player and also their sideline reporter, and former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell. We're not done. Game Day Live, 365 Sports and KWTX.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, Your Bank for Life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, a quick synopsis on games in the Big 12, including the one we've talked about quite a bit, Baylor and Iowa State. And also we'll touch in on some top 25 games and kind of give you just a little snippet of our thoughts. And we've mentioned Baylor, Iowa State. We'll get more into that amongst ourselves and predictions later in this particular Game Day Live. TCU in a non-conference game in what has become a nice little intense rivalry against SMU.
Okay, I'll go with SMU here. I guess TCU actually is what I went with. Yeah, it's an interesting game with Sonny Dykes and all that's going on with his facing his old team and 2 offenses that you think is going to probably be able to get up and down the field. Max Duggan, I think, gives the Frogs a different element than Chandler Morris did, and maybe a better element than Chandler Morris did. That will remain to be seen. But whether or not TCU is the smart pick, I know SMU's riled up for this one. I'm going Frogs.
Tanner Mordecai, we covered him in high school. Of course, he was at Oklahoma. Has had a really nice run and put up big numbers at SMU.
Yeah, that's why I picked SMU. I went with quarterbacks here. I think Tanner Mordecai can create a little bit more offense than Max Duggan. But look, Sonny Dykes is going in. He knows that team backwards and forwards. I It's a toss-up to me.
Duke at Kansas. Kansas, of course, has been a really cute story and a nice story with a win on the road against Houston, a win at West Virginia, who won Thursday night against Virginia Tech.
Kansas wins this one, I think, pretty handily. Duke might show out well early on, but I think Kansas has too much offense behind him, and Duke's not going to score a lot.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas here to keep the good times rolling. Duke, I'm sure, will give it a great fight, but the Jayhawks have a high-flying offense.
Great article by Max Olson, theathletic.com, on Jalen Daniels, and he took over at the end of the Les Miles era when they stayed in touch with him, and now, of course, with Lance Leipold as the head coach, he's putting up huge numbers at home. I have TCU. I also have Kansas winning. And then the game at, I don't know, last year Texas blew their doors off 70-35. Joey McGuire and Texas Tech at home. In Lubbock, a 2:30 kick against the Longhorns.
I don't think it's going to be 70-35. I do think Texas will win. I think that it will be very intimidating to play in Lubbock. Anytime people go in there with Joey McGuire, the crowd's going to be fired up. They're going to be throwing tortillas. It looks like they've got some mojo back in the student section there. But I think Texas has too many skill position players in the quarterback situation, and Craig's talked about it several times this week. It's just too unbalanced for the Red Raiders right now.
The only reason you would give Tech a chance in this game is because it's in Lubbock. I mean, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So, yeah, I'm going Texas, and I don't think the Lubbock factor is going to be enough to tip the scales in the Red Raiders' favor.
Top left corner, you see that, Sikkim365.com/KWTX. There's an annual premium, a $15 premium offer right now for you to get all the access to premium access and the inside information on Sikkim365.com. Sikkim365.com/KWTX. And if you don't mind, like and subscribe to 365 Sports, our YouTube channel, where we're on as well at this particular time. I think Texas wins the game, and they may score 50. That's not being disrespectful. I think they'll get a couple of either a special teams and defensive touchdown. It won't be 70-35, but it will be probably 50-25. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's fine. Kansas State in a night game at Norman against number 6 Oklahoma. K-State kind of had a flat tire in the loss last week, and Oklahoma just keeps rolling along.
Yeah, Oklahoma's going to slash all the rest of them with that offense. It's so dynamic and fast and good, and they've picked it up really, really quickly. Not that they didn't. It's too much of a change. Lincoln Riley's offense is really diverse and wild too, but they've picked it up really well. Dylan Gabriel rolls in and has been fun to watch. Skilled players all over the place. The defense has played well so far. Kansas State hasn't shown their ability to score. And I'll repeat what I said at the end of last day's show: is Kansas State's best day on offense better than Oklahoma's worst day? Probably not. And I just don't see, even if Oklahoma has a bad day, they're still going to score more points than Kansas State can muster.
Go Oklahoma here. I think it's pretty simple why. I mean, what we saw with Kansas State last week and just the struggles on offense have been enough to feel like Oklahoma's a pretty good pick at home. I'm curious as to when it's really going to feel like they've been tested, because I don't think that they've really – I mean, they might have had games that are close because they didn't play well or because of this or that, but I don't feel like they've played a team that's like really testing them. And I don't know if that's going to happen today either. So Oklahoma, we knew going in that they were going to have a beneficial schedule. They've taken care of their business to their credit. And I think it's just going to be a matter of like, okay, who do they eventually run into that's going to give them a run for their money? And I don't know that's going to be today.
All right. And again, Oklahoma, Kansas State, they have the ability to play at a certain level. And it seems like you hear about Kansas, Texas, but Kansas State, Oklahoma has had some history, but those were always pretty good Kansas State teams that beat an elite team or two with Oklahoma. It's Deuce Vaughn. He gets going. Adrian Martinez has been average at best, and so K-State will need a big game from him for them to have a chance in Norman.
And if Deuce Vaughn doesn't get going? Well, then basically the entire team shuts down, and that's the point. That's the problem is that, without him, that there's not really a whole lot else to glom onto.
Some top 25 games. These are ranked teams against each other. Clemson at Wake Forest. Clemson, 11 o'clock kick. Number 5 Clemson against 21st ranked Wake Forest.
Yeah, can Wake Forest play a little defense today? Can they score a little bit on a pretty good Clemson defense? This is the first real test for Clemson this year, so it'll be interesting. But I do think that in spite of some of their troubles, they should win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I have Clemson in this game. I think Sam Hartman makes it more interesting on the other side. I mean, this could be very well a real good game. not sure quite what to expect ultimately other than a Clemson win.
Also, and I'll take Clemson on the road with their defense and just enough offense. Florida at Tennessee, SEC game. Tennessee is better than they've been in a long, long time. Florida's trying to get back to that. They had the win against Utah, but then they were beaten by Kentucky. That game in Knoxville in front of 105 or 10,000 people.
Yeah, this could be potentially, depending on which version of Anthony Richardson we get, a pretty good quarterback matchup with Hendon Hooker on the other side at Tennessee. This game used to be one of the coolest rivalries in football, and it's become patchy at best over the last 15 years because neither of the teams have been good at the same time, particularly Tennessee. But now it appears that they're both, back on the way up. So it should be a good one in Knoxville. I think I'll take the home team, but I think Billy Napier in Florida will muddy the water.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to care about this game because of what happened in the 90s mostly. I mean, it's with a lot of nostalgia this week with this game and two big fan bases. So, yeah, ought to be a fun atmosphere. I'll go Vols here just because of the way they played thus far. Anthony Richardson's been a little too sketchy for me. But it's Florida, Tennessee, so gloves off, and I'm sure it'll be a fight.
Josh Heupel, who was at UCF and now at Tennessee, big boy program that has been down like a handful of others have kind of been down a little bit as well. Also, Arkansas in Arlington against A&M. Arkansas is getting a lot of love like Kentucky is. A&M with a nice bounce-back win under the intense pressure of the quarterback situation. The loss to Appalachian State, Max Johnson at least calmed things down with maybe his maturity, his ability to get away and run for a first down once or twice a half. That game is in Arlington at AT&T Stadium.
A&M lost this game last year because they couldn't score, and they gave up a couple big plays to Traylon Burks, but couldn't score against Arkansas. I don't know what's completely changed in this matchup other than Traylon Burks is gone. KJ Jefferson is still there. Both defenses are pretty good. I think Arkansas probably wins this, but outside of last year, this rivalry has been a bit of a house of horrors for them. So if A&M can get right today, maybe things can turn back the direction that they wanted to before the App State disaster happened.
Yeah, I think I originally picked Arkansas. I really feel good about that. I kind of want to pick A&M, and I'm just going off of the fact that A&M's has kind of a lucky moment or two in this series, like you said, but also I don't really like the injury, especially to Jalen Catalon that Arkansas suffered. So, I think that this ought to be a great game. I mean, this could be a toss-up game in so many ways, and I think it kind of is. But, yeah, A&M's got a huge question as far as the offense goes. If they can get a little bit of that today, I feel good about their defense. And, I'll go A&M even though I picked Arkansas.
I'm telling you, man, that defense is good, physical, and they have to be because the offensive struggles. I picked Arkansas just because a little bit more. There are some other games that are not both top 25 to think about. We won't talk about them, but they're there. Wisconsin and Ohio State. Also, the game between USC and Oregon State's one of interest that's also on today's schedule. Last night, UTEP beat Boise State 27-10. When we come back, we're going to, again, look at much more from Iowa State's perspective. Ryan Harklaw, defensive lineman, former captain of the Cyclones on one of their best teams ever. He will join us. Also, he does sidelines for the Cyclones, 365 Sports, KWTX, and Game Day Live.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sic 'em Bears.
Home Place Interiors. From designer drapes to custom total installation, quality area rugs to a wide selection of floor covering, Home Place Interiors has you covered. With over 40 years of experience, you can trust John Proctor and his knowledgeable staff to help you with your next home project. Home Place Interiors, where we do business the old-fashioned way, on a handshake.
I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Is the Jeep not starting?
Token, can you please come help?
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Call Toking 24 hours a day for all your emergency roadside needs. Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sick 'em Bears.
The KWTX Skycam Network, sponsored by Ray Broker Air Conditioning.
Ryan Harklaw played at Iowa State, captain a couple of different years, was on a team that was as good as they've ever been in 2000, and also does their sideline work for Iowa State. And Ryan joins us on 365 Sports with Paul Craig, and I'm David Smoak. Ryan, thank you very much. What's the temperature this week? Not like real temperature, but just the lead up and atmosphere around Ames for Iowa State Baylor.
Well, I would tell you they're excited, but it's more of a cautious optimism. You know, when you look at last year, there's a lot of high expectations with that football team. And while they were in every game and, you know, came to the wire in a lot of different games, the problem was we weren't winning this close game. So you come in out of your preseason, you're 3-0, you're cautiously optimistic, but getting that confidence back as you walk into every game to win it, you know, as a fan, you can just tell they're excited about the team, but I think they're really looking forward to see what, you know, the measuring stick is coming this weekend with Baylor coming to town. And I think the fan base is really looking forward to this football game.
In your opinion, you've seen what Matt Campbell's done. Expectations, of course, last year were huge. You mentioned that. And the year before, they played for the Big 12 title against Oklahoma. What has he done? Is the best word to use is stabilize, or the consistency? How would you define that?
He has an identity of what he wants to be and what he wants his team to be. And I think that you guys actually get to see that down in Waco. I think it's very similar. These two coaches of any of the Big 12 remind me of each other more than anyone else on what they're trying to get done. And when you watch them on film, I had a chance to watch the BYU game, which that was an interesting. I didn't get a chance to see it the day of the game, but I watched it here this week, and wow, I mean, there's some opportunities for both teams to play. But you watch that game, and a lot of what Baylor is trying to do throughout that game feels like Iowa State playing a football game. So again, I think that they know what their identity is and they know what they want to be. And I think that they are worried about getting themselves better week to week, just like Baylor. I feel like that's what they're looking at. If they can improve just incrementally every single week, they can put a product on the field that will be competitive every single week and throughout the Big 12 or, quite honestly, throughout the nation.
What do you think the biggest difference between Hunter Dekkers and Brock Purdy is?
Arm strength. It's not any question. And here's the thing about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy broke every school record we had, was an outstanding quarterback, really accurate, and over the top. I mean, he's now the QB2 for the 49ers now as he moved up with Trey Lance's injury. So he's very talented. It's hard to say, hey, this kid's better. But the kid, what you will see from Hunter is this: he makes much quicker decisions. He gets the ball out of his hands really quick. If you've seen any of the game so far, he gets the ball out really quick and gives his receivers a chance to make plays. But his down the field arm strength is really special. Not just over Brock, but I would say he's a very high end thrower of the football throughout the nation. I think throughout the season, people will start picking up on him and what he's going to be someday.
Ryan, how have you guys dealt with, as a fan base, as an institution, the constant rumors about Matt Campbell?
So it's a compliment, and it's better than not having your coach talked about. I would say that number one. I get why people want him. I've had the chance to get to know him over the last 5 years, and obviously the last two, as I've done this radio opportunity with the team. And I get why people want him. He wants to make kids better and win football games along the way, not win football games and hopefully make kids better. He has his priorities in check. And I think culture has become that word that everyone wants to use. But you don't know. You don't just automatically have it because you talk about it. You have to live it and believe it. And his foundation, his program is about improving his players and their personal lives as much as it is on the football field. And I get why people want that. And so the rumors are always going to come. If Notre Dame can't hold on to their coach and Oklahoma can't hold on to their coach, and you name it around the nation, everybody's coach is on the table. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that'll ever go away. I don't know if the movement will be as big in the next couple of years because we don't know where this is all going to settle out, with the new conference realignments and TV deals. And I'm not sure coaches are going to want to jump, from that nice where they know what they have in their hand and go jump into something they don't know where it's going to end up here in the next 3 to 5 years with the new conference alignments and the playoffs and the TV deals coming.
So, Ryan, good defense on the Iowa State side of things, but we know that. Same thing for Baylor. Offense, you got Hunter Deckers and Jairo Brock, and obviously guys like Xavier Hutchinson. 2 blowout games in the close contest over Iowa where they clearly could have played better. After 3 games, we kind of know the strengths, I feel like, with Iowa State. What are maybe some of the things you still have questions about?
Special teams. We had 2 punts blocked against Iowa, and then last week against Ohio, we got a field goal block or an extra point. It was an extra point blocked at the end of the first half. And so when you look back to the Baylor game last year, we lost in that third quarter. You got a great punt returner. He was outstanding, but you have a punt return for a touchdown. And you look at the stats from last year's game, it was a 29-31 game. Obviously, you won by 2 there. We had 479 yards of offense to Baylor's 282, and you lose a game. And again, it comes back to what you say with special teams. It's those plays. And I think that Baylor does have special teams, and we have to be prepared on Saturday to play great there, or we will put ourselves in a tough spot where it's going to be difficult to win if we don't perform on those teams.
Do you feel like Iowa State Baylor's becoming a pretty nice little rivalry because they're competing for that piece that has always been thought of as Oklahoma's and Texas?
I think that's absolutely the truth. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the championship game, there was Iowa State's cheering for Baylor. I think you all probably knew that. You want them to do well, just not against each other. And I think that, like you said, they're a mirror image of each other. But when they get together, it's gotten a little feisty in Ames a couple of years ago. I think that was 2019, where we had a couple players from each side kicked out of the game, David Montgomery being one of them. And, the players know, too. They know the intensity of that game. And this game is really impactful for the Big 12 as we go into the season. Obviously, you guys are picked to finish top or, top 2 or 3, and you're still in it. We just came out of the preseason, and for us, if we want to be that sleeper, we got to show up on Saturday and earn our right to be in the conversation for the Big 12 again. And so, I think it's going to be feisty on Saturday, because I think all the players and the coaches absolutely know what's on the page on Saturday. And this is a huge football game. No different than it was last year. I love what Coach Campbell's doing, where he has reloaded again. While last year wasn't perfect, they lost a lot of close games. But the good news is they start 3-0, and there's a lot of confidence in this team, and there's an opportunity again this year to do good things. And then the cupboards are full. It's not just the kids playing. When you look on a Saturday, they're going to probably play 22 to 23 guys on defense throughout that game, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. They're not just playing the starting 11. They're going to play a lot of kids. It's a pretty deep team, and I think that's why I believe the teams that are there now are much more talented and better than we were at the time we were 9-3.
Ryan, glad Nick Joe shared your number with me. Ryan Harklaw, from Iowa State, sideline reporter, former player. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Game Day Live on News 10 is sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Advanced Pain Care, and Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Helping those that help others. That's the mission of Charity Champions, a program designed to support nonprofits in Central Texas. Charity Champions started in 2014 to celebrate TFNB, Your Bank for Life's 125th anniversary. Champions get a marketing awareness campaign and world-class leadership development training from local consulting firm 360 Solutions. 8 years, 49 champions, and we're just getting started. Learn more at charitychampions.org.
Experience affordable luxury living at Case & Associates Properties in Waco and Temple. Enjoy a variety of floor plans with stainless steel appliances, vaulted ceilings, open floor plans, designer colors, washer and dryer connections, and so much more. See for yourself, stop by, and tour our property near you. The iconic Hewitt, Tuscany Ranch in Waco, Portico at Friars Creek in Temple, and The Bend at New Road in Waco. And take the first step into your new luxury apartment from Case & Associates.
Hi, I'm Vic Fazell. During these trying times, you might want to just stay home. And at the law offices of Vic Fazell, we understand. That's why we're set up to handle your personal injury claim without you even having to come in. Just give us a call, and we'll take it from there. We can send any paperwork straight to your smartphone or computer. Don't delay, because if we don't put money in your pocket, you don't owe us anything. I'm Vic Fazell.
Hey team, welcome back to Black Bar Barbecue Tailgate Series. Today, we're out at Game Guard Ranch. I'm rocking the Pearl Snap tee, and we're gonna make a lot of good stuff for you. First things first, we're gonna make authentic pizza, tailgate classic. Pepperoni, we're gonna try a deep dish, and we might even get creative in there. So this is something real special. I know not a lot of people are gonna have a big old pizza oven like this. The boys here at Game Guard, they're taking care of the boy. This is awesome. Basically, took the coals from the barbecue pit. We've got a big live oak fire rolling right here. I'm gonna try to keep this thing between 500 and 600 degrees. We're cooking kind of like a New York style pizza. First things first, every great pizza is gonna have garlic in some form. Today we cut the tops off this, olive oil, foil it up. We're gonna roast this in the smoker. For this marinara sauce, we're gonna do a very simple cooked marinara. Some pizza joints go uncooked. I'm gonna do cooked, but it's not gonna be like your Italian grandma's slow cooked gravy, right? I'm no Italian, but I don't think anyone's gonna complain about a little double garlic action. Extra virgin olive oil, onion, garlic. Can't complain about that. Let's make it a little better. Pop this little condom off, we don't need that. A little red pepper. Make it rain. We're gonna let these get happy, maybe 5 minutes. Whole San Marzano tomatoes going in. We're just gonna use a spoon to crush these up. A real Italian might use their bare hands to crush these tomatoes, and I kinda wish I had, but I didn't think about it in time. We're gonna let this tomato sauce simmer about 30 minutes. Got the boys shooting skeet right outside the outdoor kitchen. Why would you not be Team Game Guard, son? I don't know how they make it in Italy, but this is a cooked pizza sauce that we're gonna add a can of San Marzano tomatoes to brighten it up. I don't want it to be that heavy. We're gonna hit it with a stick blender to smooth that puppy out. First things first, let's grease the pan. We're attempting deep dish here. You can be a real man and make your own dough, but I'm not proud. I'm not too proud. I bought this from a pizza joint. Support your local small businesses or something. Be a hero. I'm not going to get into the science about the hydration of this dough because I don't know it. Bought it from a pizza joint. I trust in them. We're going to throw it down, lightly use your knuckles to spread it out. If the dough is tight, that means the gluten hasn't relaxed. Just let it sit there for 10 minutes, then go back to work on it. Get it spread out to the edge of the pan and then use your thumbs to work it up along the sides. First layer of a deep dish pizza, provolone cheese. Put on what you think a responsible amount is, and then add another couple of slices. Pepperonis. I like to get the big deli sliced ones, that way we can get an even layer. We pause our pizza making video to shred our own low moisture mozzarella, because if you post a food video and you use pre-shredded cheese, people will talk bad to you. We're gonna pivot real quick and throw on some banana peppers to help cut through the richness of this pizza. Now we can add our shredded cheese and really promise ourselves that for our future self's sake, we're only going to eat one slice. Now, moment of truth, we throw our half-cooked, half-fresh sauce on top. I have no idea how much to put, so I just kind of throw ladle spoons on until it looks covered. And we're going to see how that works out. All it there, it'll spread out as it heats up. Some of the good Parmigiano to go on top. And grated, of course. Go ahead and give that pizza a white, snowy blanket. We're going in. For reference, this pizza oven is about 550 degrees. I don't know how you say good night in Italian, so good night, sweet prince. Pizza number 2. Important things to note, always make the pizza on the peel. Flour it generously so that pizza dough will slide off. If it sticks to your peel, you're making a calzone because it will fold over. Next thing, make sure your dough is well floured. Now you're going to work your knuckles in, just kind of gently massage it, let the weight of the dough kind of stretch and expand over your hand, and eventually you'll get something that looks like pizza. Toss it around, do that stuff you've seen in the movies, just don't get too aggressive with it. and take your time. Once the gluten in your pizza dough is relaxed and you've got roughly a pizza-looking shape, you can grab the edges of the dough and just start turning it in a circle, and the weight of the dough will help to stretch the pizza out to the desired length. And there we go. Not a perfect circle, maybe not the prettiest pie, but hey, it'll get the job done. Remember that smoked roasted garlic? Oh yeah, baby. You know we're going on with that. On the base, just rubbing it lightly over the base of the dough. Light sauce. If there's anything I've learned from pizza making over the years, it's put on less sauce than you think you need. Since we're cooking on a wood-fired oven, let's go ahead and use some fresh mozzarella. Follow that up with normal-sized pepperonis. Don't be shy, but don't overload the pizza. I refuse to eat cheese pizza because it could have pepperonis and it'd be much better. Sorry about it, cheese lovers. We're going to go on with some banana peppers as well. You might be seeing a trend right here, and just like the Baylor offensive line, I like to play the favorites, and we're going to pound the rock right here. Meat, cheese, peppers. Hand-grated Parmigiano Reggiano. You're welcome. Say a quick prayer that this will come off the peel. There we go. Into the dark abyss of the pizza oven. 600 degrees this goes. Check on it every couple minutes because every pizza oven's going to be different. Don't burn it. Bonus round pizza is going to be a pesto that I made from our garden at home. Roasted garlic, mozzarella, Parmesan cheese. It was really damn good. Highly suggest it. This is the flavor of the week, the audible, if you will. Once more into the abyss, the pizza goes. Grabbing your trusty tool, pull out that first pizza. Check it. Looks beautiful. Good Lord. Good Lord. Talk to me. Undercarriage. Looking nice. The moment of truth has arrived, and I finally get to use this big axe blade looking pizza cutter, and it's awesome. I'm about to burn my face off. One bite, everyone knows the rules. I don't know if I can say, that. Don't sue me, Dave. Good undercarriage, good bite, quality pepperonis. Sauce is excellent. It's a little runny though. It's a little runny. I will give it that. We tighten this thing up in the fourth quarter, we're going to be in the money. Crust is elite. 8-4. Pesto, mozzarella, pizza. Undercarriage got a little toasty. We're not that mad about it. Yeah, that's a pinkies up pizza right there, son. I tell you what. We've tasted the small pizzas, the New York style. Now it's time for the moment of truth. The big challenge with deep dish pizza is knowing when to cut it, because you don't want to cut it when it's fresh hot, because all the cheese will just blow out and melt. So we let this cool off for like 30, 45 minutes. It's still hot, but as you can see, we got a cut and it didn't just all melt away. I'm so happy about that. I have a feeling I'm about to burn my face off. It seems to be a theme of the weekend. Yeah, that's good. All right. Hot damn. Hey, I used to live in Chicago. Lou's and Giordano's. This is pretty damn good. Definitely the best Chicago-style pizza I've had in Texas. I highly recommend you give this tailgate recipe a try because, damn, I thought I screwed it up too. Look at how resilient this pizza is. Look at the undercarriage. Perfect. Even when the boy thinks he screws up, he doesn't screw up. We don't have just a molten thing of cheese because we let this rest. It's perfect. The cheese is melted, but we're staying in the pizza. This is probably a little more successful than our pan pizza, to be honest. Slight flex. 9.3.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. During the Labor Day sales event, you can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. If you're a first responder, you get an extra $500 off your purchase. High-quality vehicles from a dealership with a hometown feel. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, so here's a little bit of a snippet on the Baylor and Iowa State series. They haven't played very often. Baylor leads the overall series 11-9. Iowa State and Ames 6-4, including 2020. In fact, the last couple of times. And then Baylor 7-3, including last year at home against Iowa State. That even dates back to when they played at Floyd Casey Stadium. The last 5 meetings, 45-42 Baylor, Iowa State by 10, Iowa State by 14. That was Matt Rule's second year. And then Baylor wins by 2, a team that played for the Big 12 championship. Iowa State then wins that game where they come back in the second half at Ames. And Baylor wins by 2 again in Waco, and a team that plays and wins the Big 12 championship.
So leave this up here, please. Okay. All right, so Baylor's 3 wins. They've won by 2, 2, and 2. 6 total points.
3, 2, and 2, yeah.
3, 2, and 2. So 7 points. All those games in Waco. And we're crazy for predicting Iowa State to win the game. And Iowa
crazy, but yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's 7 points over 3 wins, all of them in Waco. They're playing in Ames today, and they've had some issues offensively. So I don't think, again, that it's too crazy to have thought that Iowa State might win this game today.
They won the one game, the third game. The first one, 16, was at Ames on a shootout. That was a game I attended. That was the year that they had that good start.
Okay, yeah, in
and
Ames,
then fell apart. That was after the coaching change, and they were unbeaten, and they went down to Texas and could not close that deal out, and then they fell apart, and then they won the bowl game.
Yeah, Ames is a tough place to play for anybody. And it has especially been for Baylor. And that's going to be a recurring theme this year as we talk about road games and the Baylor Bears, because the places they're going to play, historically, they have not been great at. Now, there's one place that they're totally winless, which is Morgantown, and that's coming up here soon. But Ames has been a tough place for them to play. Austin's been a really tough place for them to play for a very long time. Norman's been a tough place for them to play. When you look at their record at some of these places, Lubbock's always tough. They didn't play that game in Lubbock for a really long time, and I think Baylor fans were not sad about it, that game was at AT&T Stadium. But when you look at their record in Norman, there's a double digit and a single digit in that, on those columns, and the single digits in the wins. So they haven't won in Norman but a couple times. They haven't won in Austin a whole lot of times in a very long rivalry. So those games are all on the road. This is one of the other ones that they have to, buck up and win in a place that's been tough for them to win.
When we come back, we're going to hear from Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback. And let me tell you something. Seth, of course, who had his career ended after he had got hurt against Iowa State, but then he had his career ended eventually against Oklahoma. He was a phenomenal dual-threat quarterback. He has watched what we have watched. He has seen what we have seen, and he has some true serum about what he's seen with the offense, and a little disappointed. Seth Russell. And then back to Chris Williams and Ames at Jack Trice Stadium. This is Game Day Live on 365 Sports and KWTX CBS.
When storms damage your roof, there's only one place to call, and it's Montgomery Construction and Roofing. MCR offers detailed bids for affordable quality roof repair and replacement. Schedule your free inspection and make sure your damage is repaired right the first time. Our claim specialist can help walk you through filing an insurance claim for wind and hail, too.
Say goodbye to damaged roofs and yes to Montgomery Construction and Roofing. We roof Texas, and we are here to serve you.
At Dr. Smiley, you are always our top priority. Dr. Lee, Dr. Lim, and the friendly staff are committed to delivering exceptional and professional care in general, family, cosmetic, and emergency dental services. Get $24.99 implant, abutment, crown, 3D CB CT scan, and consultation. Dr. Smiley accepts Medicaid and most dental insurance. Call Dr. Smiley today at 254-732-2606 and book your appointment today.
When it comes to accounting or financial services, choose a firm where it's about you. At Patillo, Brown & Hill, we empower our clients to thrive and grow with a strong professional partnership that gets to know you and your business. Our longevity is a product of our top-notch team of innovative thinkers, critical problem solvers, and dedicated partners who provide a clear and comprehensive plan for your financial achievement. Patillo, Brown & Hill, because it's more than numbers and data. It's about providing peace of mind.
Catch up on the day's news with KWTX News 10.
Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback, joins us now on 365 Sports, the week of Iowa State, Saturday morning in Ames, Iowa, with just after 11 o'clock kick. Seth, thank you very much for your time. It's great to hear you again. Always great to have you on the show. Craig and Paul here as well. What are your thoughts about what you've seen with the Baylor passing game? Is it the wide receivers are young? Is it Chapin's a little bit maybe spooked from Brigham Young? Your thoughts?
Well, hey, guys, appreciate y'all having me on today. To be bluntly honest, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think obviously the receiving core is pretty young. I think our best receiver is a tight end right now, which is still great. I mean, Ben Sims is an amazing athlete and a great target for Chapin. I just haven't seen anybody besides, Baldwin with being a speed guy, right? Really anybody else really step up to the occasion. And, having a young quarterback, young receiving core, maybe not on the same page, whatever that is, in my eyes, I know Chapin's probably pretty frustrated because I know the type of gunslinger that he wants to be, and he wants to throw the ball down the field. But, whether that, guys not getting in and out of their breaks the way they need to be, or running the routes too long, or shaping getting pushed off, or seeing ghosts, as they say, with different fronts that the defense is showing. I just think it's a little bit of inexperience is causing a huge factor in a passing game.
Seth, how do you accelerate the development of those guys?
Gosh, that's a great question. Obviously you can't do anything now, right? We're in the season. It's more going to be a mentality for those guys, right? You can't force them to accelerate their development. I mean, that's something that they should have done and been doing in the off season. And now all the off season work is what transpires into this season, right? And so I think it's going to be whether it's consolidating the playbook a little bit, or even opening it up, right? Just for those guys, if it's more short passes. I know we try to take a couple deep shots and miss several of them. I think that's just guys are not comfortable running those routes. And you can see it in Chapin's ball and just kind of how he's kind of hesitating, as well as those receivers. Say the corners are running the routes before the receivers can even get there. And so it's, whether it's telegraphing the routes or whatever it is, it's I don't know what they could possibly do right now to accelerate that progression.
Seth, how difficult is it to bounce back from a tough road loss in a tough environment? And that BYU game was just weird. The kickoff time, how late it ended, the fans were crazy. How much time does that take as a player to kind of get over that? And what does that take out of you?
Yeah, I mean, as a player, you should have been ready for that, right? You knew it was going to be a hostile environment. You know it was going to be a late kickoff. You know probably travel was going to suck, right? The food was probably going to suck. The beds are probably going to be hard. The bus is probably going to end up, showing up late to the stadium. You just have to expect those things, right? And on away games, you have to expect everything is going to not go your way. And I give credit to those guys. I mean, they fought their tail off. I mean, double overtime in Provo against a really good football team. I mean, that's just, that's the president speaks, words for how well they were at least mentally prepared. Maybe they didn't execute the way they wanted to. But to bounce back from that, I mean, it was a short week, right? With having a long game. I think they did a great job against Texas State. Obviously it was kind of lackluster, in my opinion, at least on the offensive side. We were just better athletes than the Texas State players. But this week is going to be an immense challenge, completely different mentality. Iowa State is an amazing football team, amazingly coached by Coach Campbell up there. It's going to be a knockdown drag, and you better believe they're going to try to answer for last year.
I seem to think that Dave Aranda kind of suggested this, and then when I had a chance to visit with him a week ago Monday, after the Brigham Young game, that he may have, and maybe even Eric Mateos, weren't sure that the offensive line had that grit, that edge that made them so nearly famous last year. Have you seen that yourself?
I have, absolutely. I don't want to speak for those guys, but whenever you start getting highly touted, hey, number one, number two offensive line in the country, sometimes you can eat the cheese. And I'm not saying that they have done that, but they got to go back to, hey, who are we? How did we get here? What type of player, what type of team, what type of offensive line do we want to be? Hey, this pretty boy stuff, whatever it is, I don't know. I just think they have to reset, go back to the basics, do their job. Communication is going to be key, and just get dirty. I mean, I want to see that RVO, reliable, violent offense. I haven't seen the violent part of it yet. But that's what we saw last year, right? They were trying to set a precedent up front, and that's what they did. And they haven't done that yet this year.
It does sound as if, and like you say, you're not trying to speak for the team, but you're a former player, and obviously one heck of a player. It does sound as if you're not, I don't know if you're disappointed, but you're frustrated too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're coming into the season with high expectations. Obviously we knew there were going to be a few hiccups along the way, right? Young team on defense, but they've stepped up to the plate. They've done a heck of a job up to this point. On the offense, there were obviously speculations of, hey, is the playbook going to be opened up a little bit? How are the receivers going to answer to the call of, having those routes downfield? And, we all know Chapin's got one heck of an arm and he wants to use it, but if those guys aren't getting open, or running the right routes, then there's not much shape it can do. And so, whether that just overall, not a confidence factor, but just more of a understanding of the playbook, maybe some adjustments, or what they're seeing on film is not what's translating to the field. There's some frustration there, but I get it, right? Hey, there's a learning curve, and now we're in the games that really matter, right? So the film room, if they weren't already intense enough, they need to be even more intense this week moving forward.
What are your thoughts about Dave Aranda?
That dude's a stud. Obviously it's pretty funny watching him when they show him on the on TV or on the jumbotron. He's just stone cold killer. I know he's going to get those coaches right. He may not show the emotion, in public, but I know he's got that intensity, in the coaches in the coaches meetings and the players meetings, and so, he did what he did last year, right, with a great football team, and I don't expect anything less from him.
Seth, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Always great, and really appreciate the truth serum you brought today, as you always do. That's Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback, is an analyst as well for Baylor football, and we appreciate his time.
Game Day Live on News 10 is sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Advanced Pain Care, and Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
We all are experiencing how the current crisis is affecting our communication. Conducting virtual meetings or classes from the workplace or your home while maintaining security, efficiency, and effective communication throughout your organization is the new normal. Asbel Electronics can set up your business, school, or house of worship with hardware kits to enhance your virtual meeting experience and provide secure market-leading Cisco WebEx meeting or Teams for your face-to-face communication. Call Asbel Electronics at 254-824-0237.
A lot has changed in the last couple years, and we know it's frustrating with all the delays and empty shelves. One thing that hasn't changed is the customer service at Waco Mattress Center. No need to wait on those imports from all over the world. We have products made in the USA built here in Texas, like Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. This queen set is $649, in stock and available for same-day delivery. Waco Mattress Center knows the importance in supporting local community now more than ever. I'm Carol Weaver. Thank you for your business and keeping it local.
One thing I hear most often from my patients is they still have pain after back surgery. In fact, almost 50% of my patients have experienced failed back surgery.
I had a disc decompression, which actually didn't work. I didn't ever think I was going to feel better. Then I went to Advanced Pain Care. Now I feel better than I've ever felt before. When Advanced Pain Care says the pain stops here, they definitely mean it. I am thankful to Advanced Pain Care for getting me back to doing the things I love.
Call today for a same-day appointment. Locations across Texas. Advanced Pain Care, pain stops here.
Game Day Live, KWTX, Sikkim365.com and 365 Sports. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak to my left and right. I'm David Smoak. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. And we go back to Ames, Iowa, and Jack Trice Stadium. Chris Williams joins us for Baylor, Iowa State kickoff just after 11. Chris, I saw where you and Royden found a large gnome, I guess it was yesterday. Is that correct?
Supposedly, it's the world's largest concrete gnome. Its name is Elwood, and it's in a garden that's literally the other side of this wall right here. There's like a full garden. The gnome is just in there. And just between us, we went up and knocked on it. I don't think it's even made of concrete. So I don't really know what it was, but I guess it's something to do here in Ames.
Well, at least there's that in the tailgating. Chris, I also know that did you meet another Chris Williams today?
I did, yes. Cyclone Fanatic. It's like an online site that writes about the team. They have a Chris Williams that's just loved up here. So a little confusion. We did a little Spider-Man pose and everything, and he was actually on the KWTX morning show this morning. We talked to him a little bit about this Iowa State team and just kind of what Baylor can expect today.
Yeah, and you know what? Cyclone Larry is a superstar rock star on Twitter. I reached out to him this week. I don't know if he's real. I don't think that's his real name, but he would not come on the show. He's a huge Iowa State fan, and too bad we couldn't make contact with him. Okay, Chris, I know we're getting close to kickoff, just around the corner. Your thoughts, final thoughts about Baylor, Iowa State in Ames today?
Well, I have good news. First of all, a second ago, Ben Sims was standing right here fully dressed. Dre Veranda said we expect to see him this week. We didn't know for sure, so seeing him out here. And then Monterey Baldwin, you might be able to see him. He looks good out there, too, so it definitely helps having those two healthy. The crowd already booing the players. I'll turn here. So this is the student section, already filled up. You can see some shirtless guys giving us a thumbs down. They were already booing as the team comes out. There they are, booing again. So I do think the home field advantage is going to be everything we talked about, but Baylor's looking pretty healthy. No Tay McWilliams, but looking pretty healthy. And final thought, I just think it's going to be a physical, hard-fought game. I don't think it'll be a blowout either way. I really think this could be a toss-up.
Chris, thanks for your time. You and Royden Ogletree, we appreciate him as well. Sikkim 365 Radio, our tailgate, Game Day Live, every single game, home and away. We keep going. And next week, of course, they host Oklahoma State. Game time will be known somewhat soon. But the one right now, focus, that's Chris Williams from KWTX. Thanks for his time in Ames, Iowa.
Yeah, he just said it there, but also saw John Werner, Monterey Baldwin suited up, and it looks like he's going to play, and Ben Sims suited up, looks like he's going to play. So, like he said, no Tay McWilliams. I don't think that's a surprise. I do think, though, if Tay McWilliams is not back by next week, we got to start asking some questions about, like, what's going on, because that's going to be like 2.5 games that he'd have been out at that point. But, yeah, good to see that Sims and Monterey, Sims is proven. He's shown it all. Monterey, I know all the potential there, but I feel like we got to let him reach that potential, but he certainly has it. So for all the great talk about him, this would be a great day for him to come back and to have one of those big games that people expect of him.
Yeah, those two guys, Sims to me, and I think against Brigham Young, the couple of people disagree with me. I thought that they could go to him even more in that game down in the red zone in overtime. It seemed like they didn't. He's a tremendous target, great hands, and so let's see if we see him in a game like this where yardage is going to be like a turf war every time there is a snap. When we come back, a couple other notes in college football. A look ahead. We'll discuss our predictions on Baylor and Iowa State. Hope you've had a great morning. We appreciate you, our sponsors, viewers as well. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Spy Sports, and KWTX Game Day Live.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, full tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience, where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
We're a little over 30 minutes away from kickoff. Iowa State at home against Baylor. This, again, is a reflection of the series. Very young, but it has been very, very intense. Baylor leads the series overall 11-9, 6-4. Iowa State at home. Baylor 7-3 at home. Those last the last 6 meetings there, including last year's 2-point win. And to reiterate, when Baylor had 2 teams that played for a Big 12 title, winning one of them, they won by 2. At home in 2019, lost by 7-20 at Ames, and had the lead at halftime. We're playing pretty well, but just couldn't finish the deal. Terrell Bernard went out. Squirrel Williams went out. Iowa State won the game. They played for the Big 12 title. Then last year, Baylor winning by 2. Okay, we've discussed this, and we've said it. All 3 of us have picked Iowa State, the road game at home, very tight game. Overall, I think about 10 different people predicted the game on Sikkim365.com that are those who cover Baylor. And I think 5, 6, or 7 picked Iowa State, the Cyclones. Paul, we start with you.
Yeah, I just think that the history is a powerful thing. And those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And Baylor's not played well in Ames. They've not won. No, I say played well. They've not won in Ames. It's a tough place to win.
They've won,
but they've not won a lot in Ames. They've not won regularly in Ames. You see the series, it's like the Spider-Man meme right there. That's what it is, back and forth, depending on where it is. It's been 6 years since they have won in Ames, and I think that's kind of the difference here. And there's just things that they haven't done yet this season that I'm curious to see. And I'm not sure if they can really do them on offense against an Iowa State defense that's really, really good.
I'm going Iowa State, obviously, by a slim margin. I think I picked them by a field goal. So, I mean, I'm giving them home field advantage, or they have home field advantage. And I think that they could muster out a close win, but I like Baylor's chances. I think Baylor can win this game. I think Baylor's actually a pretty good team. I just need to see more offensively, more consistency to feel good about them marching into somebody else's place, knowing it's hostile territory and expecting them to come out with a win. It's really as simple as that. Go win the day on the road, and I'll have no problem picking you to win on the road from here on out. But until that happens, we have every right to feel like it's a little bit, I don't know. So it's a big game today to kind of determine where this team is in that regard.
Couple of things. Sims suited up is a big deal for the passing game because he moves the chains. Obviously, Monterey Baldwin suited up is a big deal because he can help at least when, in fact, those opportunities are there to let the defense know that he might be able to at least beat them over the top. So can Hal Presley in the passing game if, in fact, that's what they do. What does Jeff Grimes do today, the offensive coordinator? How much is Eric Mateos, the offensive line coach, continue to lean on his offensive line? Because they did last week. They won 42-7, 21-7 at halftime. They took care of business against a team they should take care of business. Penalties. It has at times, even as good as Dave Aranda is and the discipline and all of what the culture is, penalties have been an issue. And they have to stay away from those. I don't think either team is capable of blowing the other one out unless the other one throws it up and turns it over 3 or 4 times in a game, and especially if you are the road team. To me, Baylor's offense has to be efficient early, has to move the ball quickly, not going to take this crowd out of the game. I do have Iowa State winning the game in a close one, 23-20.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have to take what they're given on defense. You're not probably going to see a lot of big over-the-top stuff. They haven't done that yet anyway. But if they can, stack some things together, they can move the ball and win. Then look, I don't know how good Iowa State's offense is, given the teams they played that weren't Iowa. They only scored 8 touchdowns against Iowa. Of course, you needed only 10 points to win that game, but we'll see. We'll see who what these teams are really made of today.
I'm looking forward to the Iowa State quarterback. I really am. We've heard a lot about him. Ryan Harklaw, who's a sideline reporter, talked about the ability for him. He could throw it like a BB, pops it out of there like a shotgun. Will be fun to see that. Baylor needs Blake Shapen as he was against Kansas State when he came in for Gary Bohannon. They need, as Travis Roeder said, and he thought that they'll get a little bit of what maybe we saw from Shapen against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. All of that evidence. We're back every Saturday for Game Day Live on KWTX and Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. For Jack McKenzie, Garrett Ross, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. Enjoy the game. Paul will be here for the post-game show following Baylor and Iowa State. I'm David Smoak, and thanks to our great sponsors and everyone involved, Game Day Live.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sikkim Bears.
Helping those that help others. That's the mission of Charity Champions, a program designed to support nonprofits in Central Texas. Charity Champions started in 2014 to celebrate TFNB, Your Bank for Life's 125th anniversary. Champions get a marketing awareness campaign and world-class leadership development training from local consulting firm 360 Solutions. 8 years, 49 champions, and we're just getting started. Learn more at charitychampions.org.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sikkim Bears.